54-year-old man, just turned 54. So I know exactly why I have the motivations that I have. I can't stand the big guy who bullies me or tries to bully me. Because I grew up with a father who bullied the fuck out of me all the time. You know? I mean, since the time I was little, like 2, 3 years old, my dad scared the living fuck out of me. I mean, he's a real fucking piece of shit. And if he's watching, I hope he fucking burns in hell. I mean, I really do. He's a fucking piece of shit. He scared me, okay, all the time. I was scared 24/7, you know? It wasn't that he beat me. Actually, my dad only kicked the shit out of me like a couple of times. And the funny thing was that the couple of times he did kick the shit out of me, I deserved it, okay? Because it was, you know, stupid shit that I should never have done. And that was actually like not the problem. The problem was like the day-to-day. I was scared all the time. And my old man was bigger than me, and he's a strong guy, good athlete, you know, that kind of guy. And very smart, you know, and I mean, everything going for him except an inability to control his temper. And he scared the fuck out of me all the time. And so what happened was that I realized that I decided, I don't know how you explain this. I made up my mind that I would never put up with anybody trying to bully me.
This is Gonzalo Lira, and he filmed this video during the first days of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. He explains that he chose to stay in Ukraine and promote Russian propaganda because he is choosing to divide the Ukrainian government for personal reasons. Some of these reasons trace back to his tumultuous relationship with his father. According to Gonzalo's claims, he was raised under the shadow of relentless bullying.
My father, my old man, was a bully, and he bullied me, and he was a bastard. And I haven't spoken to him in 25 years because the fact of the matter is, you know, I hate his guts. I hate his guts because he was a bully who just, I mean, let's be frank, he fucking terrorized me when I was growing up. He really scared the ever-living shit out of me just about every day. I mean, I grew up under the thumb of a bully.
Gonzalo internalized the principle of confronting rather than fleeing from oppressors. Little did he anticipate that this resolve would lead him into a dangerous clash with the Ukrainian government, which had enacted strict laws prohibiting Russian propaganda due to the ongoing conflict with Russia. Gonzalo found himself at odds with Ukrainian authorities as he sought to champion the cause of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin in a nation actively opposing his regime.
Russia started improving, especially once Putin came into power in 1999. Started radically improving and moving forward, pulling away. And Ukraine just started going down, 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 down. Why? Well, because you see, in Ukraine, the Western thieves, the neoliberal thieves, had their way with the country. They went into Ukraine, they supported the local oligarchs in Ukraine, whose business it was to extract as much profit as possible and make themselves rich. And see, Putin and the Russians now can look at Ukraine and realize that would have been their fate had they not resisted in the way that they did. And quite frankly, had Putin not been there, because Putin is the man most responsible for preventing Russia from becoming a bigger version of Ukraine.
Gonzalo Lira was at the center of controversy for spreading Russian disinformation in Ukraine. He made false accusations against the West, claiming it was solely responsible for Ukraine's economic struggles while conveniently ignoring Russia's significant role in fostering corruption within the Ukrainian government. In response to such propaganda, Ukraine enacted strict legislation in 2022 that banned the promotion of Russian narratives. Under this law, violators faced serious consequences, including potential incarceration for repeat offenders, especially under martial law. Despite having already faced penalties and being placed under a relaxed house arrest, Lira blatantly disregarded the legal repercussions of his actions and continued disseminating misleading information. Gonzalo Lira's privileged background as a descendant of Western elites significantly shaped his worldview, leading him to believe he was above the laws governing Ukraine. This mindset intensified his confrontations with the Ukrainian state and reinforced his unwavering support for Russian ideologies. His traumatic upbringing, characterized by paternal intimidation, instilled in him the belief that defiance was his only option against perceived bullies. This was a strategy he refined over years of enduring domestic tyranny. However, his coping mechanisms went beyond simple confrontation. He became adept at the art of deception and manipulation. By weaving falsehoods tailored to his audience's desires, he engaged in emotional manipulation to further his agenda. As Gonzalo continued to spread propagandist content in blatant defiance of Ukrainian laws, he unknowingly charted a dangerous path that put his liberty and very existence at risk. The same tactics that once shielded him from his father's tyranny now threatened to unravel his life, leading to a tragic clash between his past and the choices he made in the present.
¿Cómo estás? Asiento por acá. Aquí está, pues, este fenómeno de las letras en Estados Unidos.
Gonzalo Lira's journey as a purveyor of disinformation, which began in the mid-1990s, was recently exposed by a significant source. A video released on July 12, 2024, by the Chilean government-backed YouTube channel TVN, revealed the origins of his deceitful activities. This archival footage is a rare gem, a televised interview conducted in Spanish with Gonzalo Lira, filmed in 1997. This interview marked a pivotal moment in his promotional tour for his debut book written in English, Counterparts, where his talent for deception first became apparent. At the heart of this story is a fabricated tale that Gonzalo boldly spun, claiming that the prestigious American publishing house, Putnam, had offered him a staggering $1 million to publish his first book. The success of this outrageous claim stemmed from several key factors. At that time, Putnam was amid a merger with Penguin Random House, shrouding their financial dealings with emerging authors in secrecy by claiming it was company policy, an ideal cover for Gonzalo's bold assertions. Additionally, the context of the era, especially in Chile, played to Gonzalo's advantage. The internet was still in its infancy in 1997, making fact-checking challenging. Coupled with the high costs of international calls to the US from Chile, Gonzalo's narrative went largely unchallenged. As a result, the public, unable to verify his claims, accepted his story at face value. If you're curious about the full interview, check out the link provided in the description for easy access. And if you don't speak Spanish, no worries. Just use the closed captions feature along with the auto-translate option to effortlessly follow along in English. In this video, I'll spotlight some intriguing moments from the interview that really caught my attention. Gonzalo shares a narrative reminiscent of Chilean publications from that era. This very account is also featured in our channel's series titled Gonzalo Lira, The Deconstruction of Coach Red Pill, an American Parasite. Join me on this journey of discovery as we explore selected segments of the interview that offer unique insights. For example, at the 0:25 mark, TV personality Pedro Carquero raises the fascinating topic of Chilean writer Isabel Allende's alleged envy toward Gonzalo. This reference may be traced back to an article published in 1997, the same year as the televised interview, in the esteemed magazine Que Pasa. This adds even more context to this captivating exchange. In an interesting side note from the article, the esteemed writer and poet Isabel Allende shares her thoughts on Gonzalo Lira's bold claim of receiving a staggering $1 million for his debut book. She comments, "I think this is a very high sum of money. Not even Carlos Fuentes was paid that much for publishing in the United States, but there are no significant antecedents. It is possible if this is a writer who writes in English." Pedro Carquero took Isabel Allende's inquisitive comments and twisted them into envious attacks, dismissing the fact that Isabel Allende was an authority in the world of Chilean literature. After all, she had been paid over $500,000 in advance for one of her novels, which gave Allende's comments weight and legitimacy. In response to Allende's remark, Gonzalo Lira simply stated that he doesn't pay much attention to what others think of him. He emphasizes that people shouldn't be overly concerned with external opinions but instead focus on their responsibilities, adding that Gonzalo's primary focus is his work as a writer. Isabel Allende's comments regarding Gonzalo Lira resonate strongly with current events. To give you some context, let's look at a recent incident involving actor Terrence Howard. On May 18, 2024, he appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, which racked up over 10 million views. During the episode, Howard made some outrageous claims, including the assertion that 1 × 1 is equal to 2, revealing the great unifying field equation, and alleging that astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson criticized him for these statements.
I reached out to Neil deGrasse Tyson, I saw him at an event up front, at Fox. And he was like, hey, man, yeah, I'd love for you to come on my show, do my radio, do my TV thing. I would love that. I was like, yeah, but I've got something I want to introduce to you. And it was only 36 pages. It was a treatise. And I told him it was controversial, and I sent him over the 36-page thing that had the wave conjugations in it, but I started it off with 1 × 1 = 2. And he went in on my treatise, redlined everything. He attacked that I had talked about.
In response, Neil deGrasse Tyson released a video that quickly debunked Howard's claims, which also garnered over 9 million views.
I recently learned I got name-checked by Terrence Howard on his recent appearance on Joe Rogan.
I reached out to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I was like, I've got something I want to introduce to you.
I got name-checked because 8 years ago, he sent me a 36-page treatise.
And it was only 36 pages.
So this is Terrence Howard attempting to reinvent mathematics and physics. I'm going to read you just my opening line here. It's titled 1 × 1 = 2. So I lead off by saying, this is an ambitious work that is a clear indication of a restless, active mind. Within these pages, however, there are many assumptions and statements that are underinformed, misinformed, or simply false, thereby compromising or nullifying many of the subsequent conclusions you have drawn. That's exactly what should happen in a peer review out of respect for one another's intellect. It's possible to know enough about that subject to think you're right, but not enough about that subject to know that you're wrong. And so there's this sort of valley in there, a valley of false confidence. This has been studied by others, and it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's the phenomenon where a little bit of knowledge, you over-assess how much of that subject you actually know. And then when you learn even more, you realize, no, I didn't know as much as I thought I did. So then there's a sort of a lull there. And then when you learn even more, you come back up. Ultimately, learning enough to know whether you were right or wrong. To become an expert means you spend all this time. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't just sit in an armchair and say, I'm now an expert. It requires years and years of study.
As a result, Howard faced significant ridicule from experts in mathematics and science, with many YouTube channels dedicated to these subjects mocking him. Today, he is widely considered a fraud, with only a handful of individuals of questionable intellect defending him. Now, if we draw a comparison between Gonzalo Lira and Isabel Allende, we can see that Lira mirrors Terrence Howard, while Allende takes on the role of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Isabel Allende is a celebrated best-selling author whose works hold a special place in Chilean literature. Many of her novels, like The House of Spirits, have been adapted into films featuring an impressive cast, including Jeremy Irons, Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, Winona Ryder, and Antonio Banderas. Between 1983 and 2021, Isabel published 27 books, 22 fiction and 5 nonfiction, and received 39 awards. She has been married 3 times and was 81 years old at the time of this recording. In stark contrast, Gonzalo Lira has only written 3 books and directed a film that cost over $1 million to produce but only made about $11,000 at the box office. I'll dive deeper into his film later, as it's an intriguing topic on its own. To wrap up this comparison, Gonzalo was married once and tragically passed away alone in a Ukrainian prison cell amidst the ongoing conflict. Interestingly, there are no online images of Gonzalo with his ex-wife or any other woman. His only marriage ended in divorce proceedings initiated by his wife in late 2021, and legal documents indicate she obtained custody of their children. While this may seem minor now, it's worth noting that Gonzalo had no significant presence in intimate relationships, showing an apparent aversion to women. Signs of this can also be seen in the movie he directed in 2003, which I'll be showing later on in this video. In conclusion, both Gonzalo Lira and Terrence Howard sought to project an image of authority in fields where their actual experiences fell short of earning them a credible standing. To put it simply, Gonzalo Lira's claim to be a best-selling author is as unfounded as Terrence Howard's assertion of being a genius theoretical physicist or mathematician. Their attempts to elevate their status highlight the disparity between perception and reality in their respective fields. But circling back to the interview, the big question remains: what motivated Gonzalo to fabricate such extravagant assertions? Even though established authors could easily refute his claims, Gonzalo's goal seemed to be crafting a narrative that painted him as a triumph over adversity. A Chilean from humble beginnings who allegedly became a millionaire thanks to a lucrative book deal, all while concealing his existing wealth and the significant financial backing from his family.
So who is Gonzalo Lira and why is he controversial? Well, Gonzalo Lira is an American-born and mostly raised in the United States to Chilean parents. He is a direct descendant of Jose Miguel Carrera, the first president of Chile. He is, like I mentioned, a descendant of the Carrera family. That family is very prominent in Chile. Now the descendants are in the hundreds, and they pretty much run Chile. I mean, they're the aristocrats. So
it's undeniable that Gonzalo Lira sought fame and fortune through deceit and manipulation. He crafted an image of a humble Chilean boy whose writing talent supposedly earned him a $1 million contract in the United States after publishing his first book in English. This narrative was part of a calculated publicity campaign designed to evoke the emotional sympathy of the Chilean people. What they didn't know was that Gonzalo was actually born in America, coming from a family deeply rooted in Chilean elite circles.
I grew up in the establishment. I grew up in the establishment in Chile and in the United States. I've got the pedigree, the degrees, the schooling, everything, the social contacts, all that shit. And yet I despise the establishment of both countries, by the way, of both Chile, where my family's from, and the United States.
This stark contrast between his fabricated persona and his actual background raises significant questions about authenticity and integrity.
But he thinks that by doxing me, he's going to embarrass me. He's going to embarrass me, I don't know, with my boss, which I don't have, or with my family. I've done bigger shit than whatever Crown has to say. You know, a lot of stuff that I don't tell you guys, right? Pretty nasty shit, some of it, right? Because I'm an asshole. I'm a son of a bitch. I told you guys, right?
As we continue with the video, Gonzalo Lira eagerly promotes his upcoming book, Toma Arizuri, which he claims will be published shortly after this interview. He surprises host Pedro Carquero by revealing that Counterparts was not his first work, showcasing his bilingual writing skills in both English and Spanish. Carquero, skeptical about how Gonzalo landed a $1 million book deal, probes deeper into this extraordinary claim, questioning its credibility in the US publishing landscape. Gonzalo then recounts his well-known story, tracing his writing journey back to when he was just 17. This narrative is also echoed in the video series Gonzalo Lira, The Deconstruction of Coach Red Pill, an American Parasite, referenced from Chilean newspapers archived in the National Library of Chile. However, Gonzalo conveniently leaves out significant details during his conversation with Carquero, namely, his initial rejection by Chilean publishers in 1990 due to his novice status and the lackluster quality of Toma Arizuri. His attempt to mimic Chilean Spanish phonetics in his writing style ultimately deterred publishers, leading to a string of outright rejections. Later in the interview, Pedro presses Gonzalo for specifics on how he secured that elusive $1 million deal for his first book.
Let's get to this point now. This counterpart. How does this phenomenon occur? How did the Americans discover this Gonzalo Lira? Why are the gringos not going to pay like that? $1 million just like that to a person? No.
What happened is that I studied history and philosophy in the United States, yes, and I graduated in 1995. And from there I went to Los Angeles. Because I wanted to get into film and while I was trying to do that I was writing this novel.
Who financed all this story for you?
I financed myself and it was a pretty difficult life.
What did you do in the United States to be able to,
At university and I washed dishes, that's what I did.
The typical story of the dishwasher. That's what I understood.
And it was really hard, and when I moved to Los Angeles, I worked any job I could get and did whatever I could to get ahead.
Just like all the kids. And in what year did you start writing this book?
I started writing this book in January 1996, that is, last January, and I finished it in August, and in the meantime, I found a very, very good agent, a woman named Teresa Park in New York who is my age. She was just starting out as an agent and was looking for clients, and we got along well and she said, "Look, I'm going to sell you your book."
This counterpart. How much do you usually pay for a book in the United States to a beginner to a stranger? Yeah, do you mind if I call you that?
Of course not, I am a stranger. From 5,000 to 10,000, 15,000 maximum.
5,000, 10,000.
6 million Chilean pesos, maximum.
And you were paid $1 million.
Yes.
And how? What happened with this counterparts?
Well, I guess the book is very good. Gonzalo reiterates a narrative similar to what's found in the $1 Million Writer video, discussing his academic background in philosophy and history and his subsequent move to Los Angeles with dreams of breaking into the film industry. However, upon the video's release, Gonzalo's father publicly denounces these claims as fabrications, asserting that Gonzalo actually moved to Los Angeles to live with Gonzalo's wealthy uncle, who is a lawyer, and his father's brother. In this interview, Gonzalo reveals the timeline for writing Counterparts, stating he finished the novel in just 8 months. This claim is also contradicted by his father, who insists that the novel was written during Gonzalo's time at Dartmouth. This stark contrast sets the stage for a compelling scenario in which two distinct narratives of Gonzalo Lira emerge. You can even hear Gonzalo recounting his story on national television, an account his father would later dispute.
Now, let me show you the particular comment I want to address. First, lie. Moved to LA with $1,200. Second lie. He moved after 5 years to Chile. While studying at Dartmouth and moving to LA, he always visited Chile. Third lie. His major at Dartmouth was not Russian history. Fourth lie. He moved to LA not because he wanted to be in show business. He moved to live at his uncle's home, my brother. Fifth lie. He never lived in Culver City. Sixth lie. Counterparts was written while at Dartmouth. Enough, no wonder this idiot has only 264 subscribers. He is a big liar writing a story he made up. You never met my son and do not know anything about him. It is disgusting to read so much dirt from a poor, ignorant, primitive man. What I'm doing in the Chapter 2 video is retelling the stories Gonzalo himself told newspapers to build a fake image of a struggling writer who became a rags-to-riches success story to gain the sympathy of people just to sell his shitty books. But make no mistake, Gonzalo Lira Lopez is a conman who is finally in jail because he was telling lies for a profit, something he has done all of his life. In my videos, I'm actively translating newspapers that publish Gonzalo Lira's own words. And because there are so many lies, it is hard to tell what is real and what is not. So what I did was just retell all of Gonzalo's lies. Because in the end, the only thing that we can be sure about is that Gonzalo Lira Lopez is a prolific liar who has conned people all of his life.
Gonzalo Lira asserts that he completed Counterparts in just 8 months. But this claim raises eyebrows, especially considering that his next book wasn't released until 5 years later in 2002. He indicates that he wrote his first book while juggling various odd jobs. Yet, a timeline discrepancy emerges after he supposedly achieved financial freedom through a $1 million deal, allowing him to write full-time. How come he was able to write his first book in 8 months while working odd jobs to survive? Yet his second book took more than 4 years, even though he was a self-made millionaire who didn't have to earn money on the side. During the interview, Gonzalo presents himself as a struggling college graduate in search of menial work. However, recent videos paint a different picture, showing him as a thriving screenwriter in Hollywood at that very time. He claims that significant producers and directors were interested in his books for potential film adaptations. Still, this assertion is impossible to verify, mainly since many of those industry figures are no longer alive.
It's like, for people who don't know, like, I started my career in Hollywood. After college, I went to Hollywood, and I met with a little bit of success. You know, I did all right. I was earning a living, which is ultimately the standard, the metric by whether you or not you're a professional or not. And then I transitioned into writing novels. I wrote thrillers. Okay, and I got published by Big Five publishers, by Putnam and St. Martin's Press and Random House. And what happened was that my last book, which came out in 2001, was called Acrobat, and it was considered like a big book, and it was sold to Miramax for quite a bit of money, to tell you the truth, for Anthony Minghella and Sidney Pollack. For Anthony Minghella's and Sidney Pollack's production company, Mirage.
This inconsistency suggests that Gonzalo was a con artist, using writing as an escape from traditional employment and accountability, treating it more as a pastime than a serious career. Contradictions abound as Gonzalo insists that writing is his professional career in this interview. At the same time, in other reports, he suggests that without writing, he would have been compelled to pursue a college career. His indifference toward writing as a formal career is evident in his educational background. He holds a bachelor's degree in philosophy but not a degree in a writing-related field. Despite claiming to enjoy writing as a hobby, his dismissive attitude towards it as a legitimate profession raises questions about his credibility as a journalist. In a 1998 interview with La Nacion, Gonzalo downplayed his writing efforts, portraying them as mere amusement. He stated, "I've never written to impress anyone. I've never written something that far. It entertains me to write. I find it a super and enjoyable way to pass the time. Imagine being paid for your hobby." This perspective underscores his lack of respect for writing as a solemn profession, contrasting sharply with the dedication required in a journalism career.
Right? And so I'm here to tell you, you have to understand what is the point of school. What is the objective of the school? And what is the objective of school, you might ask? Well, it's not to fucking give you an education, that's for fucking sure. You're not supposed to get an education at school. The objective of the school is to get the accreditation for your future. Once you understand this concept, then college, high school, any educational establishment becomes easy. Because you see, the idea is not to learn. The idea is to give back to the teacher that which he wants to see so that you get the highest grade. It's not to learn. It is to give back to the teacher that which he wants to hear. Not more and not less. That's it. Just give him what he wants to hear. Okay? Give him what he wants to hear. Figure out what he wants to hear, and then give it to him. This has served me so well. And it was just, or let me phrase that, it served me well in college, and after college, it served me quite well too. When I stopped in whatever I was doing, and instead of trying to work, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, instead of trying to really just put my shoulder to it and like lift it up, no. If I just stopped and looked at the person I was working with, I was dealing with, in business, in education, in whatever, and understood what it was that they wanted. Once you figure out what they want and apply it and give it to them, two things happen. Number one, it becomes obvious what you have to do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And number two, it becomes easy. It becomes so fucking easy. You just have to stop and figure out what the guy that you're answering to, be it a professor, a boss, a business partner, anybody, what do they want to hear? What do they want to see? You figure that out and you got it made. Yeah.
Gonzalo's academic choices and questionable activities align him with disreputable figures like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, who are notorious for spreading misinformation. While Jones and Carlson faced consequences such as job losses and legal troubles, Gonzalo's life took a tragic turn, culminating in his death in prison from pneumonia complications, marking a somber end to his controversial existence. In a 2002 article written for the Chilean publication La Tercera, Gonzalo Lira notably refused to validate his $1 million contract for counterparts. Despite the publishing company's interest in his subsequent works after releasing his second English-language book, he chose to break his agreement with Putnam. The penalty for this was that he could not publish future books with any other publishing houses or even self-publish himself. This was revealed years later when he attempted to self-publish a book named Wilshire Boulevard, which was part of an IndieGoGo campaign where he collected over $10,000, which he never repaid to the people who donated to his campaign. The fact was that writing started to feel like a job to Gonzalo, and he just didn't like to have responsibilities in his life.
So, we're talking about Wilshire Boulevard. Now, what the hell is Wilshire Boulevard? Well, Wilshire Boulevard is a book that Coach supposedly wrote, that Gonzalo Lira supposedly wrote. It was already written, guys, and he just needed a little bit of support to get the book over the top. Wilshire Boulevard, a novel. He's raised 14,288 Canadian dollars out of his $9,986 flexible goal. So the project was funded. So during this pitch, Gonzo is trying to sell this to his incel audience because for those of you who aren't aware, Gonzalo Lira's entire career on YouTube has just been taking advantage of gullible, naive, impressionable incels who want to get women. And so Coach, as he's selling his book, wants to make it seem like it's really edgy and badass and politically dissident there. He's going to let you guys know that this is going to own the feminazis. Gamergate's back, and the left can't stand it. Gonzo's standing up against those damn evil SJWs. Gonzo's gonna crush them with this fucking book. The mainstream thought it was too dangerous, but Gonzo, through the power of crowdfunding and the interwebs, will bring it to life. We'll bring it to life. Spoiler alert there. It was just a total scam from the beginning. He claims that the book was already finished. He just needed the money to fucking print the books and distribute them to people and sell them. This is beyond Spoonie tier scam. This is fucking ridiculous, the level of scam that Gonzalo Lira has come up with. Fucking outrageous. Just shameless fucking grifting. Shameless. But he says, but quality doesn't matter. What matters is ideology. I'm fighting the good fight against the Marxists. I'm going to save the West with my book. You know. But he felt like a colossal failure, which he should, because he's a piece of shit and a grifter. Goes, I won't lie. It took me a while to get over the shock, but I did. I shrugged and moved on with my life and did other things. But here's the third act twist. This year, an artist friend, extremely successful, but like me, alienated by the SJW culture, clued me in that IndieGoGo and self-publishing were the way to go. He now has more freedom and more audience support than ever before, all because he'd taken the plunge and gone off on his own. So screw it. I'm publishing Wilshire Boulevard myself, but I need your help. Wilshire Boulevard is done. It's written, it's edited, and proofread, and in the process of being formatted as an ebook. It will be published on Amazon on May 15th of 2019. It will be published on May 15th of 2019. It is now October 6th of 2020. It is a year and 6 months past when it was supposed to be fucking released. Whoa. It's on its way, guys. Trust me. It's fucking coming. Let's have a look at who backed it and for how much. So, Coach's personal thanks and email, $1. The items are his gratitude. For $1, you get Coach's gratitude. 4 people sent Coach $1 to get his gratitude. For $25, you're going to get the audio and ebook combo. You will receive the audiobook and ebook of Wilshire Boulevard on the day of publication, plus a personal email thanking you for your help. 103 people actually gave Coach $25. Advanced reading copies, $50. So if you want an advanced reading copy of Wilshire Boulevard, sent to you 30 days before the official publication date. 2 people claimed this for $50. Oh, fuck. Well, what about the limited edition hardcover, which is $100? It's going to be a limited edition hardcover on high quality paper. There will only be 1,000 copies. And it will be sent to your email address 30 days before the date of publication. 16 people! 16 people trusted this man with $100. Can you even fucking believe it? But wait, what about the signed limited edition? The signed limited edition. For $150, you will receive a signed copy of the limited edition hardcover of Wilshire Boulevard, along with the ebook and audiobook, shipped to you 30 days before the day of publication. How many people fell for this grift? 10. 10 people sent Gonzalo $150 US. But wait a minute. What about the dedicated and signed hardcover for only $250 US? You will receive a personally dedicated and signed copy of the limited edition hardcover of Wilshire Boulevard, as well as the ebook and audiobook copies of the novel, which will be sent to your email 30 days before the day of publication. 3 people paid $250 US. But wait, special thanks in the book, $1,000 US. Well, guys, not only did somebody pay the $1,000, 4 people paid Gonzalo Lira $1,000 US. Their $1,000 went down the fucking drain. They didn't even get to read the book. They didn't get to read it ahead of time. They didn't get their dedication in the fucking hardcover. Do you know why? Because the book doesn't fucking exist. So Gonzalo Lira made $14,000 off this campaign. It's 143% funded. A flexible goal, which is just a fucking scam. It's October of 2020. Not one order has been fulfilled. So we then get no word from Coach from May 13th until June 30th of 2019, where Coach then lets us know that, and please forgive me, guys, please forgive me for not having updated the campaign. What's happened is that the printing of the book has been a much harder affair than I anticipated. In fact, I've had to change printers because the original firm I hired was not working out. The audiobook and the ebook are done. I'm just waiting on the new printers for the hardcover. If all goes well, I should have it set for release and shipment by the end of July of 2019. I'm so sorry for not having updated you, but the days have simply been flying by. My mistake, it won't happen again. Cheers and thanks for your patience. This is the last update of the campaign. Was on June 30th of 2019. No! This was the last update of the campaign on June 30th of 2019. And in this update, he doesn't even clarify if he got the money from IndieGoGo. So if you're a backer of this campaign, you'd have to assume that IndieGoGo stole the money and blame it on IndieGoGo that you've not received your book. And he says, sorry for not updating you in so long. That update was 1 year and 6 months ago, man. That was the last update, was in June of 2019. The book's still not fucking out. And Coach never confirmed if he got the money or not. So I guess that's the excuse. Coach didn't get the money, but he did get the money. It's all just fucking bullshit. Coach just fucking literally ripped you guys off. Tens of thousands of, like $10,000. He just stole.
As I previously mentioned, this televised interview marked Gonzalo's first major public deception. In it, he carefully crafted an image of a self-made success story, highlighting his impoverished background and his stint as a dishwasher during college. However, this narrative stands in stark contrast to Gonzalo's later claims that he worked for a benevolent benefactor in Washington after being suspended in his freshman year for sexually assaulting a fellow female student. This troubling aspect of Gonzalo's past reveals a darker side of his personality. His apparent disdain for women and his inability to connect with the opposite sex suggest he views women as mere objects for sexual gratification, reducing them to a status no better than that of animals. This perspective not only reflects poorly on his character but also raises significant concerns about his motivations and values.
I got suspended very unfairly for allegations of sexual assault.
and very serious allegations. Although, you know, the actual core of the allegations were kind of ridiculous because I was accused of trying to forcibly kiss somebody. Trying, but failing, okay? It was just absurd. It was just basically a jealous girl. A girl that I'd hooked up with and then I'd sort of like dropped unceremoniously, and she got jealous and pissed off, and I got slammed with this shit. And so I got suspended from Dartmouth. And I had no place to go. I was living in the United States for the first time in like 9 years.
Well, Gonzalo Lira is an American-born and mostly raised in the United States to Chilean parents.
While studying at Dartmouth and moving to LA, he always visited Chile. He moved to LA not because he wanted to be in show business. He moved to live at his uncle's home, my brother.
The rest of my family was back in Chile. I didn't have much money. I didn't know anybody in the United States. No place I could go to. You know, I'd gone straight from Chile to Dartmouth. And here I was suspended from Dartmouth for a full academic year, 3 consecutive terms. And I didn't know where to go, what to do, you know. I had nothing, no home to go to, because I had no place to go, no home to go back to. And so and no job. And so I talked my way into a job in a Washington, D.C. law firm.
George, speaking of the USA, my son Gonzalo is more gringo than Chileno. His mother lives in England, in the States. His sister lives in the USA. He has 2 uncles, my 2 older brothers. We are 3 brothers. We all studied in the USA. My 2 older brothers are still alive, and they're living in Los Angeles, California. He has 6 first cousins. One of them, Michael Vernon Lira, has spoken to the governor of Arkansas and the U.S. Senator of Arkansas to help Gonzalo to call the Department of State in the USA. So we're moving in the USA. My son is an American citizen, and we're doing all we can with our family in the USA. I'm the only one, as a matter of fact, living in Santiago, Chile.
I am an economist that has worked as economic advisor for a large corporation and governments. Presently working as an economist in a top prestigious think tank, Brookings Institute in Washington, D.C.
I remember I was like, in a public phone booth. And this was 91. This was way before email was prevalent and cell phones. Forget about that. That was science fiction. That was just Dick Tracy, right? I'm in a public telephone. I've got the stack of quarters, and I'm doing an on-telephone interview with this only job prospect that I'd gotten back any kind of message from, right? And I'm calling her and talking to this woman, and I remember very clearly plugging quarters, and I'm running out of quarters, and I'm trying to convince this woman to hire me, right? And I did, you know? I mean, I sweet talked her and just, said the right things, whatever the fuck I said, it worked, and I got the job. And so once I had the job in DC, I went about trying to figure out where I was gonna live. And I wound up talking to this alum, this Dartmouth alum, Barry Sullivan, class of 36. I miss him dearly. He was a lovely man. And he had this big house. He was a widower, and he had a big house. And he didn't mind having Dartmouth kids over for a term or 2 while they did whatever they were doing in Washington, right? And I talked to the guy, and I charmed him and went down to DC and lived there.
He is, like I mentioned, a descendant of the Carrera family. That family is very prominent in Chile. Now the descendants are in the hundreds, and they pretty much run Chile. I mean, they're the aristocrats.
Gonzalo's dark persona is revealed in the TV interview in an intriguing yet unsettling moment when Pedro Carquero asks Gonzalo about his aspirations at the 10 to 26 minute mark. Gonzalo expresses a desire to direct a film, elaborating at 10:55 on his unique creative process. He shares that he visualizes a movie in his mind while writing and that he wants to translate these mental images into a cinematic experience for audiences worldwide. What's particularly disturbing is Gonzalo's sole mainstream film, Secuestro, which translates to kidnapping in English. This film explores the harrowing story of a wealthy businessman's daughter who was kidnapped and potentially assaulted. Gonzalo's choice to depict such violence and sexual aggression towards women raises serious ethical concerns. It's noteworthy that Gonzalo aimed to project these distressing images onto a global audience, revealing his dark, creative inclinations regarding violence and sexual misconduct. While some may argue that many filmmakers produce violent content without being inherently malevolent, Gonzalo's situation presents a stark contrast. Unlike acclaimed writer-directors like Quentin Tarantino, who create violent narratives without being involved in real-world legal infractions, Gonzalo's background tells a different story. Before entering the film industry, he faced a sexual assault conviction during his time at Dartmouth, which led to a suspension for his entire freshman year. His affluent upbringing likely shielded him from more severe consequences, such as arrest or expulsion. Additional insights into Gonzalo Lira's character emerge from events following the 2005 premiere of Secuestro. Notably, movie blogger Gonzalo Maza penned a review of the film on his website, recounting his encounter with Gonzalo Lira. Within his blog post, Maza detailed the following. I personally met Gonzalo Lira a couple of weeks ago. First, due to his reputation as a best-selling writer in the US, Lira is the most hated guy among his peers in the Chilean audiovisual world. Lira does not fit. Perhaps as a consequence of it, or because of it, Lira is a loner. Maza also states that Gonzalo's movie was personal to Gonzalo. Now, when I say that Secuestro was a personal film, I'm not referring to balconies or barcodes. I'm referring more to the fact that Lira really seems to me to be talking about things that he knows. A stark contrast emerges between directors like Quentin Tarantino and Gonzalo Lira in their approach to filmmaking. While Tarantino openly expresses his enjoyment of producing violent movies as a form of entertainment, Lira seems to utilize films as a medium to confront his inner demons.
Let me ask you about violence. I mean, you said, everyone knows you make violent movies, you like violent movies. Why do you like making violent movies?
I think, I think it's good cinema. I'm a big fan of action and violence in cinema. I always said that it was almost as if it was one of the reasons Thomas Edison invented the camera, was to film violence, right? Because it's so good. And the genres that I'm attracted to tend to be genres that deal freely in that kind of stuff. And that has to be done well, because if you don't do it well, then it actually has no effect. What I'm about is playing the audience. I feel like I'm the orchestra conductor and the audience's reaction are my orchestra.
Esteemed directors such as Tarantino, Spielberg, and James Cameron understand that movies serve as a means of entertainment for the masses, offering an escape through fictional narratives that remain distinct from reality. In contrast, Gonzalo Lira appears to blur the lines between fiction and reality, possibly using his films to grapple with personal issues.
You get into writing enough and you start to realize that people's emotion, their soul, whether they want to or not, it starts to flower in what they're writing. And what I'm basically saying in a complicated way is that your written work is a reflection of yourself, your mood, of your soul.
According to Gonzalo Maza's blog, Lira crafted the main character in his film as a reflection of the aspects of himself that he despises, hinting at a deeper psychological exploration within his creative endeavors. This introspective approach sets Lira apart from directors who primarily view filmmaking as a form of entertainment detached from personal struggles. Maza wrote the following. With this, his first film, he commits the oldest mistake among debuting directors, an almost student-like mistake. His main character is a guy he hates. A disgusting shark of the business world, played by Fernando Cliche, a Kiko without feelings, who denigrates his daughter, his wife, and his ex-wife. In fact, according to Aravina's note, this character represents for Lira everything he doesn't want to be. He is the bad Lira.
Women are like dogs. Now, what do I mean? You have to treat them like you would treat a dog. Firmly. It's not enough to say that women are garbage. You have to give good reasons. Over the last 50-odd years, women have been catered to. Any desire, no matter how trivial, it's fulfilled. And the society acts as if
it ought to be fulfilled. It acts as if the whims of women are so important that they should be fulfilled at all costs. In other words, women in the United States and in the Western democracies, in the UK, France, Netherlands, Germany, right? The women in these countries, they are entitled. They're spoiled. It's simple as that. Entitlement is just a fancy word for being spoiled, but it's the same fucking thing. See? These women, they've been spoiled. The whole society caters to their whims. And so they've grown to believe that they deserve all kinds of privileges and a wonderful life. Women, without going into the details, you fuck a woman really well. I mean, you fuck them in a way that they will remember it. That they are going to be walking around bow-legged for a couple of days. And yeah. And what does this mean? You know, fuck them good. It means ignoring what they want and simply taking what you want, sexually speaking. Now, I'm not advocating rape or anything like that. I am simply saying that you simply take from a woman what you want, sexually speaking, and make no apologies for it. That's what they want. See? They want a man who is completely confident and self-assured and who simply takes what he wants. It is surprisingly important, that sense that a woman gets that a man can physically overwhelm them. They want that. Read Gone with the Wind. Margaret Mitchell wrote that book, and there's a scene where Rhett Butler ravishes Scarlett O'Hara. And she was angry and blah, 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 but the next morning she was happy as a clam, right? It's the truth. Women need a good fuck, and if you can't provide them with a good fuck, they will find a man who can. Most women don't know what they want. They need a man to tell them what they want. And then they will follow along, because most women are followers. They are natural followers. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, what about, you know, these career women and shit like that? Yeah. You get those women, those career women, those go-getter women, you get them in a nice house with a few kids, and within a year, they're going to be doing whatever the hell the husband wants, so long as the husband has some balls, okay? Every woman I've ever been with responds extraordinarily well to a almost violent physical encounter. Over the years, lots of people have called me a bastard. And to tell you the truth, I'm proud of it. Yeah, because what is a bastard in this sense? I'm not talking about an illegitimate child, of course. I'm talking about the colloquialism of calling somebody a bastard. Simply put, a bastard is a guy who gets what he wants and is willing to inflict hurt feelings on others in order to get what he wants. Sometimes those hurt feelings can be really, really bad hurt feelings, and sometimes a bastard is willing to inflict actual harm on others in order to get what he wants. That's certainly been the case with me. I mean, I don't have a problem inflicting real harm on others in order to get what I want. Am I proud of this? No. But the fact of the matter is, if I want something and you're in my way, I'm going to try to get you out of my way. And I don't quite see the problem. But the problem is that, see, there are a lot of other people who are unwilling to do this. There are a lot of other people who they want to be a nice guy, and I'm not willing to be the nice guy. Huh? Can you please be a nice guy? Fuck that noise. Fuck that noise. If you ever are in a situation where somebody says that you should do something in order to be a nice guy, you say no. And they're gonna look at you nasty with daggers in their eyes and call you all kinds of names, and you're an asshole and a bastard and blah, 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 blah. Sure, but who cares about these people, huh? Because it's one or the other. You cannot be a nice guy and achieve the things that you want out of life. It's just not possible. Huh? And they say it's a dog-eat world out there, a dog-eat-dog world out there. Fucking A, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. And you have to be tough. And yes, sure, of course, when you inflict damage on somebody else, when you inflict hurt feelings or outright hurt on somebody else, yeah, of course you feel bad, but you feel so much better when you achieve what you wanted now, don't you? It's worth the hurt feelings of others, especially the hurt feelings of strangers. Who cares?
Analyzing Gonzalo Lira's life reveals a troubling pattern of deceit and manipulation. Gonzalo's behavior exhibited signs of severe mental disturbance, prompting comparisons to a sociopathic profile characterized by a lack of empathy, manipulative tendencies, impulsivity, arrogance, and a complete absence of remorse. Reflecting on his tumultuous life, it becomes evident that seeking guidance or life lessons from an individual who met such a tragic end in a foreign prison raises serious doubts about the credibility of his teachings. A poignant aspect of Gonzalo Lira Lopez's life emerges through his strained relationship with his father, Gonzalo Lira Sr., marked by deep-seated animosity. Allegations suggest that Gonzalo Jr. endured bullying and abuse at the hands of his father, leading to a toxic dynamic that ultimately culminated in divorce due to pervasive mistreatment within the family unit. In 2022, Gonzalo had this to say about his father.
You know, I'm a 54-year-old man. I'm just turned 54. So I know exactly why I have the motivations that I have. I can't stand the big guy who bullies me or tries to bully me. Because I grew up with a father who bullied the fuck out of me all the time, you know? I mean, since the time I was little, like 2, 3 years old, my dad scared the ever-living fuck out of me. I mean, he was a real fucking piece of shit. And if he's watching, I hope he fucking burns in hell. I mean, I really do. He's a fucking piece of shit. He scared me, okay, all the time. I was scared 24/7, you know? It wasn't that he beat me. Actually, my dad only kicked the shit out of me like a couple of times. And the funny thing was that the couple of times he did kick the shit out of me, I deserved it, okay? Because it was, you know, stupid shit that I should never have done. And that was actually like not the problem. The problem was like the day-to-day. The problem was that he scared the fuck out of me. And sometimes he'd arrive home and basically, look, my old man could not find a way to release the frustrations of his life and his career and existence. And even though he was extremely successful, he had frustrations like we all do, but he did not know how to vent them in a way that was harmless. And so he would vent them at the people who cared about him, you know, like myself, like his son, you know. And that venting just scared the ever-living fuck out of me. I was scared all the time. And my old man was bigger than me and is a strong guy, good athlete, you know, that kind of guy. And very smart, you know, and I mean, everything going for him except an inability to control his temper. And he scared the fuck out of me all the time. And so what happened was that, well, several things happened because of this. I realized, number one, I could never work for anybody. Okay, I could never have anybody in authority above me because it was just constitutionally unable to. Because of this constant bullying, I just couldn't handle any kind of authority above me, right? And the other thing too is that, see, I realized that I decided, I don't know how you'd explain this. I made up my mind that I would never put up with anybody trying to bully me.
Following Gonzalo Lira's tragic passing from pneumonia complications in a Ukrainian prison, his father, Gonzalo Lira Sr., held a funeral in Chile. During the eulogy, he predominantly focused on his son's YouTube endeavors, neglecting to mention the other claims Gonzalo made about his achievements as a writer, movie director, and economist. This stark contrast between Gonzalo Jr.'s self-promotion across various fields and his father's singular emphasis on his YouTube persona highlights a poignant disconnect within their relationship. It raises critical questions about familial acknowledgement and understanding.
I want to thank everyone who has appeared here, but I am not surprised. Because my son had an attraction that very few people have. In his search for his destiny, he finally found it on the internet. More than 360,000 people have subscribed to you, and millions of people have followed your commentary on current political issues on the internet. You predicted the war that ravaged the country of your 2 children. You disparaged the bloodthirsty dictator Zelensky.
Imagine this. Gonzalo Lira Sr. was so detached from his own son's life that he forgot all other so-called achievements Gonzalo proudly bragged about in his videos. There was no mention of his writing career, his time as a movie director, or even his time as an economist blogger. His father only mentioned his success as a Russian propagandist YouTuber.
My life has been like one big adventure, I've lived under Pinochet's dictatorship. I got an Ivy League degree. I've been a screenwriter in Hollywood and a published novelist with Big Five publishers in New York. I've crossed all of North America on my Land Rover with my dog, spent 6 months circumnavigating the North American continent, from New York City to Boston to Toronto to Yellowknife to Fairbanks, then all the way up to the north coast of Alaska, the North Shore of Alaska rather, then to Anchorage, Juneau, then Bellingham, and drove all the way around the West Coast and across Texas and across the Deep South, and then up through the Carolinas and back to New York City. I've done that. I've lived through an 8.6 earthquake, and it happened to me when I was on the 15th floor of a building. God damn, that's when I thought I was really gonna die, okay? That was scary, okay? And here I am in Ukraine, in the middle of this Russian invasion of Ukraine. Yeah, targeted for assassination.
How sad and pathetic is this? Gonzalo Lira bragged in his videos about his success as a writer, a movie director, and an economist, which is why some people consider him a legitimate source of knowledge and wisdom. And here is his own father, completely disregarding all of those claims by mentioning the only real achievement Gonzalo ever got was being a YouTuber.
Okay? The old man, my old man, was a fucking pathetic little piece of shit bully. And because of that, because he was a chicken shit faggot coward who couldn't stick up for himself and stand up to bigger men than him, he would lash out at me, a little kid.
Despite Gonzalo Lira's assertions of expertise and success in multiple domains showcased in his online content, his father's spotlight on YouTube as his only noteworthy accomplishment challenges the legitimacy of Gonzalo's proclaimed achievements. Interestingly, parallels can be drawn between Gonzalo Lira and Terrence Howard. Both individuals have leveraged platforms like interviews conducted by Pedro Carcuro and Joe Rogan to promote themselves, often escaping substantial scrutiny regarding their backgrounds or claims. While entertainers like Carcuro and Rogan deliver engaging content to their audiences, they may overlook their responsibility to highlight guests' questionable credentials, urging viewers to approach their narratives with caution. The evolution of media from traditional outlets to online platforms, such as Joe Rogan's podcast, signifies a significant shift in how information is disseminated. This shift allows individuals like Gonzalo Lira and Terrence Howard to exploit these channels for personal gain, often spreading misinformation in the process. As history repeats itself in the realm of media, the persistence of opportunists misusing platforms for deceptive purposes underscores the ongoing challenge of discerning truth from falsehood in the digital age. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. This is Facts Hunter signing off. Take care and goodbye for now.